God, Mum, you're not on Tinder.
Most people call it plenty of fuck.
We're going to make you a profile.
The Playing with Matches podcast, where women talk about their experiences dating online. Hello, I'm Mark, and welcome to Playing with Matches, the podcast where women tell us about their online dating experiences. Today is episode 11, and back by popular demand, by which I mean one person said they quite liked it. Here are some fun facts about the number 11. 11 is a prime number. It's also a palindrome, reads the same backwards as forwards. And the multiplication of 11 by any one-digit number will also yield palindromic numbers 22, 33, 44, etc. The most Oscars won by any one film is 11, and there are 3 films that hold that title. They are Ben-Hur, Titanic, and The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. There are 11 words in the Oxford English Dictionary that end in bolism. I had only heard of 3 of them: embolism, symbolism, and metabolism. The suffix bolism comes from the Greek ballein, to throw, which doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever in the context of those words. It seems that Canada really likes the number 11. Their $1 coin, called the loonie, has 11 sides. There's also 11 points on the maple leaf that adorns the national flag of Canada. And a number of Canadian banknotes have clocks on them, and the time on all of those is 11 o'clock. Russia is so big that it has an incredible 11 time zones. And the First World War ended on November the 11th, 1918, and came into effect at 11 a.m. So that's the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month. That'll do. You're welcome. Well, on this podcast, episode 11 means it's time to meet Patricia. She is from Romania originally, but moved to the UK to study and work in Manchester. She doesn't date British men because they all ask her about Dracula. Can't chaps do better? She went on what she thought was a date with a guy, only to find out it was his engagement party. And she cycled 60 kilometres to meet a date during the lockdown and never came back. Or maybe to get a toothbrush. I began by asking her when she first started using dating apps. I'll be back at the end for tea and toast. Until then, take it away, Patricia.
I tried during university, so I think quite late to the age when someone would try it now. I was probably, 21 or 22. So yeah, we just exchanged phones with some girls in my class, and we were staying in a university cafe, and each was choosing kind of a partner for another person to go on a date with. So we all went on a date with someone that was picked by another person. I remember when I made the profile, I thought, okay, I'm only 21 or something like that. I'm quite young. So I lied about my age and said I'm a bit older, so maybe 25 or something like that. And then the pair that my friend found also lied about his age. So we ended up being like quite a big age difference because we both lied. He said he's younger. I said I'm older. And when we met, he didn't come alone. He came with 2 male friends, which I was surprised because even though it was my first time, in my mind, on a date, you have only 2 people. And then we ended up going to this restaurant, pub that he already knew. So he already knew where we're going, what we're doing. I just followed. I just tried to process, like, we're 4 people, should we be 2? And without even noticing very much, I was sitting at this table full of people, full of his friends. So it was like an event, and everyone was looking weird at me because I was so young compared to everyone else there. And it turned out that actually that was his engagement party, but his fiance was not there. And I was, in my mind, I was like, did you bring me to have a final hookup before, I don't know, your marriage or something? But he actually treated me really nicely, but I just didn't understand what's my role there, or why would someone go on a dating app to find a pal to go to their party. Everything was so fast paced, as in people talking, and he was always engaged in conversations, giving a toast because he was the protagonist. So for me being the young, odd stranger that doesn't fit in. I didn't just raise my hand and ask, so what's up with this? So after listening for a bit and realizing exactly what's going on, that, he was there in the UK, but he was actually from South America, and his fiance was in South America, and he studied in the UK or something like this. So that's why he had all those friends there, and probably he wanted a final party before he leaves the UK. So I just found an excuse to leave by pretending I have a phone call and picking up my phone and things. And so that was like my first experience. I think after that, I took a while. I didn't do it for a while. And then that was in Manchester. And I think then the next time it had been a few years later when I moved to London. And I just thought in London, there's so many more options compared, like the bigger the city, the more people you have, but also more weirdos in a way. No, I don't like using necessarily that word because we are all people, but also a lot of quick online messages just with sexual things, and even harder to find a conversation partner, but not like the other way was easier. But I think in London I had the most experiences, but again, not many follow-ups, a lot of one dates, but not many follow-ups. I think they were also awkward, and maybe at the beginning I didn't know, like, is this supposed to be awkward? And after a while I realized that actually no, it shouldn't be awkward. So it's not part of the experience that it should be awkward. And I think one of my last dates of this type, I was actually considering to leave when I saw the person, even though I know it's not nice, but I believe in this thing that you see a person in the first 10 seconds, you can tell if you're going to click or not. And I saw him, and I just realized that the pictures that he posted, he probably took them like 10 years ago. They were so not the same as the reality, but unfortunately he saw me. So I just felt too bad to leave after he saw me. And we spent some time and then never spoke again. Maybe some people would have the guts to just say, no, this is not gonna work, and leave. I remember there was this scene from Sex and the City. I don't know if you saw the show, when what was his name? The bald guy that was Meryl Streep's friend. He was dating men, and he was doing a lot of online dating, and there were some scenes when they show that he's meeting someone and they just look at him and go away, and it was always happening like that. And he thought, like, what's wrong with me? Everyone's walking away after seeing me. The best dating experience that also started through using an online dating app. And at the beginning of this year, I was in a relationship, and it was a long distance relationship, and it was kind of not working well. And when we realized, lockdown, as in we lived on different continents, and we had plans to meet, and we realized, we're not going to meet. So it just ended because of the uncertain future. We thought, okay, it doesn't have anything concrete in this context. So after a while, I started using a dating app because we couldn't go outside and meet people and all, and actually started talking with this guy, which I didn't notice that he's not from Manchester, because I was living in Manchester, and normally I put my radius for 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers, because in case I want to go and meet someone, I don't want to go to the other end of the country. So we started like talking, and then I never had a video call with someone from a dating app before, but I remember one day he just like called me with a video call, and I thought, what should I do? I mean, it's my face, and it's like, it's like a more intimate thing. And in the end, I answered, and I felt that connection. So in the first 10 seconds, I could feel that. So that's why I pursued it, that we have some common passions that I know we could discuss about. And we spoke a lot. I think it was also like a therapy for me, because university was online, so it's a bit like, oh no, quite hard. So this was like my excitement. It was the mystery. It was something that I don't know, but I want to know, but I cannot know. I think one weekend we said, okay, let's have another video call. And because it was weekend, we could speak more. And before, we only spoke during the week. And I think we spoke from like 7 p.m. until 5 a.m. the next day. So it was like a very long conversation, which I didn't even realize how the time passed. So I thought, okay, we quite get along. I want to meet this person. Like I really, normally, when you cannot do something, you really want it more. But as I said, we were not from the same city, even though I set my radius to 10 kilometers. So he was living in a city 60 kilometers away from Manchester, and the train travel was stopped, and I didn't have a car. He didn't have a car. And we said, okay, let's meet in a park. But how do we do it? Because we cannot take the train. So I cycled 60 kilometers to go to his city. And I thought, well, maybe things will evolve. So I just took my toothbrush just in case. And we met in a park close to his house here in Preston. And we just were in the park talking for a few hours. And then I think it was a bank holiday weekend, so it was longer than normal weekend. And I ended up spending the whole weekend there. And then I came back after a few days. I also rested because I just cycled 60 kilometers, so I had to do the journey back. Yeah, and then we kept meeting after they started the train travel. It was mostly me that went there because I had more free time. I had summer holiday because I was a student. Like, he has a full-time job, and it just I don't know. I think it was also the fact that we're kind of both available, both looking for something, both had similar interests. For example, we're both vegetarian, so in this time of spending a lot of time at home, it was kind of nice that we could cook things that we both like. Now, after almost 1 year, my contract ended in Manchester for the place, so I just didn't want to extend it, so I moved here. So now I'm living in the house where I cycle to 60 kilometers at the beginning of the spring. It's a bit also hard in a way because I just feel like we skipped so many stages. Like, normally you'd meet someone, you'd go out, you go for a movie, you go to the restaurant. We never went to a movie together. We never went to a restaurant together. We never, did all these things that normally you'd be going through before doing all these other intimate things. Before, I don't know, buying some furniture, you would at least, go for a walk in the city center. Missed out on the initial teenage kind of things, like the more childish things, the like dressing up part. I think we only saw each other in pajamas because we didn't have to go, I don't know, in a formal context. So it's, I think, a different way of meeting someone. I think I would like that to happen at some point, and I think it will happen once we can go out again. So I think, yeah, it will happen, and we will meet each other in a different way, in a way that we didn't know before. So I never dated anyone British. I don't know. There's no click, or I feel like when British people message me or something like that, and they see I'm Romanian, or they ask me, that's the first question, where are you from? Because they see on your face that they're not from here. They ask you where you're from. I say, I'm from Romania. And then they ask me about Dracula. So it's a bit, not only the Dracula thing, it's like all these stereotypes. You always, and I think we were talking with Jonah before. I feel like that's more of a thing a guy would ask you. They just go for the short stereotypes instead of elaborating a more tailored approach. I think focusing on where you're from, how old are you, want to meet up, if not, want to have a video call and show each other genitals. But yeah, these are just some cases. I think there are also different types of dating apps, and there are some apps specific for people wanted to do sexual things without having the talk. So yeah, but not people from other apps also go for that approach. And for example, a funny thing that happened is a while ago, I went out with this guy, and we went out a few times actually, but it didn't work out. And he was also like backpacking through Europe, something like that. So he was traveling from country to country, and somehow he found out that I'm going to be in Romania at some point. So he came to Romania, like from UK, he went from another country to another country, and then he came to Romania to meet me, which I really didn't enjoy it. But I mean, he came all that way. So I said, okay, let's meet for a bit in a park to talk. And then, I don't know, he was still like hooked up on thinking about me and stuff. So this beginning of the lockdown, I think he felt lonely. So he just messaged me asking if I want to have phone sex or something like that. But like all of a sudden, without talking nothing for years, So like this is something that I don't know if only people that you met on dating apps would do, thinking that, okay, you met on a dating app, so then what, you're always available for phone sex or flirting. But if you're on a dating app, that doesn't mean you're up for just flirting with anyone, or at least I'm kind of finding someone to focus on. In the lockdown as well, there was this guy that I intersected with at university a few times. So we studied together. But we just saw each other. We didn't really talk, but we saw each other's body because we saw each other in real life. And actually, before the lockdown, I went on like study exchange something, and one of the people from my university that went was that guy's girlfriend, but we didn't get along. And I saw the guy on Tinder, and I was like, what the fuck? I just been with your girlfriend for this thing a few days ago, and now I see you on Tinder. So I liked him just for the fun of it, to see like what's up with them, because I knew they were living together and all. So, and I didn't get along with her, so I wanted to, I don't know, see what's up with them. We were in lockdown. I was bored, so yeah. And 15 minutes later, the guy sent me nudes, and then we talked like very briefly, and I was like, what the fuck? But yeah, he said he saw me in real life at the university, and he still remembers, blah blah blah. And then this semester, when we had some presentation for university, we were like random students having to present, and I was in group with him, and he kept sending me messages on Teams, but not everyone could see, which were like not sexual, but it was kind of connected to the thing from before. So yeah, what you said about the courage, like he would have never done that in person. And one of the first things I was like, why are you here? I mean, I thought you were together. And especially because they were together for like 6 years, living together. They were even owning a car together. I was like, okay, so big thing. And then he just said, yeah, they broke up after she came back from that study exchange, but they are still living together now, almost 1 year later. So it's quite weird. Now I learned from my past experiences. So before meeting someone, I would take more measures, but maybe they would be useful to have some online dating guide that before actually entering the app, you are shown some things or presented some real cases of negative stuff of what could happen. So, because I think they show you, when you join Tinder or whatever, they say, please talk before you meet. It's like, because they have to say like a disclaimer or something. But if they would present a short negative story example, people will take it more seriously than just having some, but not only showing the negative, they can even show the positive. So, because they're both sides to it, but understanding that meeting someone can have some consequences that you don't want to jump into. something came to my mind connected to, as you said, about the potential horror stories. This short story of one of my flatmates from London. So her first dating app story, I thought it was really, really funny. So she met this guy. They were talking on the dating app, she said, for 1 week or something. So it was not that quick. They should have known some things about each other for 1 week. And then they met. They met in London at Box Park. And it was winter. It was like 0 degrees. And she had a coat, but the guy was wearing only a t-shirt. He didn't have a jacket. And then she was like, what the fuck? And they talked for a bit. And she didn't see that connection. And then after a while, they were just walking around. He asked her to give him her coat because he was cold. And then she was like, well, yeah, I saw from the beginning you're cold, but I'm cold too, so I don't want to give you my coat. And then I think he asked her for her phone as well, but it was clear that he wants to take her phone. And then she somehow realized that he's homeless, and he probably lived in a shelter or something, and he used someone else's phone to go on Tinder. And she just draw the conclusion that the guy is meeting random people to try to get their coats or their like clothes, and that's his strategy. But I mean, I know there are people that are in very unfortunate situations, but he kind of messed with her for 1 week through texting to try to make her like him, and then just tried to take her coat. I don't know how, but somehow most of the people that I end up dating, they're from South America, or they have a South American background. And sometimes they don't even say it on their profile, but I'm just drawn towards people that seem to like music, and they are more like hippie, low maintenance type. And that's kind of, it fits within that. So I think I didn't even like date Romanian people or other European people. Yeah, it somehow just happened to be people from there. I think there were some exceptions, but they were from the ones that only happened once and then never happened. I think at the beginning of this year, when I installed Tinder, when I said, okay, I'm going to look through this, I set my preference to both women and men, and also start to talk to some women. But I never dated a woman in real life before, so I didn't know like how to handle it. But the conversation seemed to be flowing kind of easier with women in a way, because you were asking something, they were answering and asking you something back. Because I don't know, sometimes, not necessarily men, but they're more like, I don't know, they don't type with such a pathos in a way. So yeah, from that point of view, I feel like the conversation is flowing easier. But I also stumbled upon these women that they told me that they're married and they're looking for some side action, and their husband knows, and if I want, we can arrange something with their husband as well. So then that kind of made me, I think it happened like 2 times, 2 from like 4 women maybe that I talked to. So it just made me think like, are the majority of women on the app also, you know, are they doing this from their own initiative, or did the husband ask them to find like a third? If this is a thing of finding the third for a threesome on Tinder, I think if the woman kind of tries to do that, might be more successful than the guy trying to do that. To be honest, after this year, I think if I will ever have the choice of either going to a dating app or just getting out there, I'll go for the, real, go to a bar, look who's around approach, because I think we're all not fed up, but we are missing this human interaction. And also, like before the age of the telephone, when people didn't have a smartphone, they had no choice, like it's not like we only use dating apps now because we were in the moment, but before there wasn't this choice. So that doesn't mean that they wouldn't have used it as an option if they had it. And I actually know this story of a Romanian couple. Now I think they're both in their 40s, 50s, and they told me the story of how they met. So they met from an article in the newspaper. So it's not like before you didn't have these things, but instead of Tinder, you had announcements in the newspaper. So I think the guy wrote an announcement like, I'm looking for a young girl that likes this and this. I'm this age, I'm this high, my hair is like that. And then she called him and he went to pick her up at her house, and then they went for a date, and now they're married. So that's kind of similar thing. It's not Tinder. It's just, I think, same principle, different method. So instead of maybe blaming, because online dating also has this stigma around it, and it's not the thing, it's how you use it. I mean, I think the lessons learned are always a positive thing because you learn from it. But I think at some point it was like a mini addiction, which that's one of the reasons why I wouldn't go for it, because just seeing person after person after person, that's like an addiction, just to see more and more and more. And I feel like, I don't know how people do it, but if I'm on a dating app, I could be on in half an hour and still don't like anyone. So it kind of takes a lot of time to see someone that I really feel confident. Okay, I'm gonna like this person, and it's just time consuming, and at the end of the day you might not get anything from it, but sometimes you might get something that really makes you happy. So it's like, you never know.
So that was Patricia. I wonder if she's still in Preston with that guy. A happy ending, perhaps. Seems a lot of relationships went from 0 to 60 pretty quick during lockdown. People meeting and then moving in just because it's the only way they got to see each other. Still can't get my head around who would invite a date to their own engagement party. Anyway, thank you to Patricia, and thank you to Joanna, as always, for making the connection and making the interview happen. So we've had a few people contact us to say they'd love to be interviewed for this podcast, and we may well start up that process again, but it could take a little while. So if you wanted something with a more immediate effect, then you could send us an audio note or a written email with a story or two. That'd be most welcome, and we could include it in an upcoming show. So if you'd like to get in touch with us, then you can email us at playingwithmatchespodcast@gmail.com. There's a link to that in the show notes as well. We have some different episodes coming up soon. For example, our first and as yet only couples episode, where we interview a couple who met via online dating. There's an episode where we interview 2 women that wrote and directed a play about their online dating experiences. Maybe the appearance of the woman I met and fell in love with during this process, to tell us all about her own experiences, the losers, men, before meeting me. And we'll also talk about how we got together. All that coming up in the next few weeks. And we also now have a Facebook page. Just search for Playing with Matches Podcast on Facebook. And we'll be adding some bonus bits and behind the scenes to that page very soon. I think that about wraps us up for today. Thank you all so very much for listening. And until next week, good luck out there and on there. Bye-bye.